Hello and welcome to the Be Glad movement. My name's Pollyanna and I'm on a mission to bring you as many stories as possible of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad. And today I am joined with Katherine. As per usual, I'm going to do my usual of just getting out of the way and letting Katherine get on and tell her story. So say hello, Katherine.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, like I just said, I'm gonna let you tell your story. So go for it.
Okay, so I was very hesitant at first to talk about this, simply because I am one of those quite private people who says they're fine and puts a smile on and puts your game face on, and kind of when things happen, I'll be honest, I don't deal with them brilliantly. But I thought this story was important for your movement because it's very much a story that reflects something really bad happening, but something maybe not good is the word to use, but I think like an important like life lesson came out of it.
Right.
So, it was 4 years ago now. At the time, I was living in Folkestone with my partner at the time, who is now my husband. And it was a beautiful early summer's day, and we lived right down by the sea harbour, and we were driving out in our car. And unfortunately, a really awful accident happened literally right in front of the car.
Right.
And it was one of those situations where you have like a split second to react. And John and I didn't even look at each other. We didn't talk. John like slammed the brakes on, and we literally both just ran out of the car. And the car in front of us had hit somebody, and had spun round and hit a house. And it was very, very graphic. Unfortunately, the car had hit someone, and they were in a very bad state already and had horrendous injuries. And it was one of those situations where I didn't really know how to react. Now, at the time, my husband was the Royal Marine with 3 Afghan tours behind him. So I feel like he just went into Marine mode and went into kind of triage and sort of autopilot, and he ran to the guy who'd been hurt.
Right.
And immediately started helping him and doing first aid and trying to get, and a lot of people had seen this accident happen, but we seemed to be the only people doing anything, and everyone was just kind of standing there. So John at the time was like, right, someone call an ambulance, like get back. He was just trying to kind of calm everyone down, because unfortunately the man who'd been hurt, it had happened outside his family's business, and his brothers had all seen it. So we had a screaming family, and it was just, so I went to the car, and I didn't expect to see what I saw. I saw a very old man in a complete awful state. He wasn't actually hurt himself, but his windscreen had shattered and he was shaking. And I just immediately said to him, do you feel like you've broken anything? Have you hurt yourself? And he said no. And there was just glass everywhere. And I thought, okay, I think I need to kind of get him away, because he's stuck in this car that's like spun round and hit a wall, and this poor guy has got these horrendous injuries, and I feel like it's obvious an accident. It's best to get him away from this.
Yeah.
So I gently like took him out of the car and took him past it, and just found like a bench to sit him down on. And he was shaking and trembling, and I thought, oh my God, he's really not okay. And I was really worried that he was going to have like a heart attack or something. So I just sat with him, and he was very upset, and you could tell that he was going through a lot. So I asked someone to get him some water. It was a really hot day as well. So I said, could someone just get me a towel? And I tried to kind of take him out of the sun. By now, like the police and the ambulances had arrived, but John and I were very like separated. So I was with the driver, and John was still with the chap who had been hit. And I didn't realize quite how bad it was until I really sort of walked over to see how John was doing. And the guy had really horrendous injuries. And at that point, I felt quite sick because I had never seen anything like that in my life. And
Right.
I'm not trained for that. I haven't. And at that point, I was like, okay. And I really wanted to panic and just run away and not deal with this. And I thought, no, Katherine, you've got to deal with this. This is the reality you're in. For some reason, you and John are here in this situation. This has happened. You have to just stick it out. So I left John to it, and I went back to the old man and said to him, can I call someone for you? Do you have family locally? His son lived locally, so I called his son, which was really difficult because his son got upset on the phone. And I was trying to calm his son down and explain, look, it's not your father, but this is what's happened. Please, would you come?
Yeah.
So we managed to do that. And then by now, the kind of police were sort of taking charge of the situation and trying to kind of get everyone away because sadly, loads of people were just like rubbernecking.
Right.
And then loads of time passed and the police kind of were talking to me. And then it must have been an hour or so. And then an air ambulance had to be called because it was that bad.
Okay.
So then it was kind of lots of waiting around, trying to like secure everything. And then the ambulance landed literally by the seafront and they had to do a lot to stabilize him before they could put him in the air ambulance and fly him off. And so that happened. And then the police asked for like our statements and said, you're the key witnesses. We're going to need to talk to you again. But I stayed with the old man the entire time. I didn't really want to leave him. As much as I wanted to run away myself. I thought, no, like he needs to have some support. And then, yeah, it must have been I'd say about 3 hours we were there. And then kind of gave our details and like the old man hadn't been allowed to leave. At that point, he was then allowed to be taken away by his son. And I just said to him, you know, like, I'm so sorry this happened and I hope you're okay. And the son kind of said to me, you know, are you local? And I pointed up to my flat and said, I literally live just there. We were just driving out of our building.
Right.
And I felt kind of quite numb, but like didn't really think too much about it. And then we were ironically going to my sister's 40th birthday party that night. So we had to kind of just forget about almost what had happened and then get in the car and drive a few hours, which was the last thing I wanted to do. I didn't want to be in a car. I was so kind of, but we had to do it. And we went to the party and I sort of briefly told my sister kind of what had happened, but didn't really give any detail and proceeded to just kind of, be honest, drink quite a lot and just sort of, and John and I just didn't really talk about it. And then a few weeks later, we were interviewed by the police who came to our flats. And I got very, very upset then and had to kind of stop it and take a breath. But really, that was it. And I know it went to court. And I know that the old man had his license taken off him. But I never really knew any more what had happened. It was in the local press for a bit. But all I knew was that he was in a critical condition, but had not, thankfully, passed away. And I tried to just kind of get on with things. And then about 6 months later, I was in Boots of all places. And I don't know what led me to think about it, but I just burst into floods of tears in the middle of the shop and was just reliving everything and everything I'd seen and how graphic it was. And I just had to like put my basket down. I just walked out.
Yeah.
I'm not okay. Like, this is not okay. And I threw up in a bin. I was like having some kind of delayed reaction. And a few weeks later went to my GP and said, look, I don't know if I need to talk to someone, but like, this is what happened. And he said to me, it very much sounds like kind of a delayed trauma almost.
Sure.
And at that point, like, it prompted me to really talk to John about it, about what sort of happened. But I did go and talk to someone, and I'm really glad I did that, and I kind of found my peace with it all. And even now, 4 years later, I look back on that day, and it changed my whole kind of way of thinking, because now I have been in a few kind of very urgent situations since then, and I've known exactly what to do, and I've been really calm, and I feel I've been help and support to others. And I kind of feel that although this horrible thing happened, I'm really glad that John and I were there. I'm glad it was us. I'm glad that John saved his life. He would never say that. He's very modest. But if John wasn't there, that man would have died, because John knew what to do. And I always wonder what happened to this man. His name was Ali. And I don't know. And part of, I think, this is the fact that I never got that resolution. But a few weeks ago, we were back where we used to live, and I walked past the cafe where it happened, and it's under new ownership and things now. But I kind of looked at the literally scene of the accident and was sort of kind of felt okay and felt at peace with it. And I'm kind of glad that I did that. But yeah, I'm really glad we were there, and I'm really glad that we helped, and I'm really glad we could help.
Yeah.
And I hope that if Ali is still with us, I'm sure he has maybe life-changing injuries, but I hope he's still with us somewhere, and I hope that he knows that we did everything we could to help him. And it was just one of those freak accidents that kind of just changed how I think about things, and now I'm just not massively scared by stuff, and have witnessed things that have happened and have been able to step in and help. And so
Oh, I lost you for a second then.
oh,
It's
hello.
okay, you're back. It just, the screen went blank. Yeah. Gosh, that must have been really harrowing for you to see that. I mean, as you say, your husband was not prepared, but was prepared in a different way, because his training would have got him prepared to see that kind of stuff. Obviously, he wasn't expecting it to happen right in front of his home, more on the battlefield, but not in front of his home. But he had the skills to be able to cope. You were fantastic, really, looking after the elderly gentleman, because I'm sure that was a great comfort to both him and his son that came afterwards. And you really didn't have any idea what you were going to see when you walked back over to your husband. And I can't even begin to imagine how that must have sat in your mind, at the back of your mind, because you already had a job, something else to do, to go to. It sort of didn't give you time to process properly, did it?
And I think this is the point. I think that when things happen, you really have to deal with them, because I think that was part of my issue, is that I thought I was fine, and I didn't quite appreciate the gravitas of how big it was. And it wasn't until, like I said, much later, where I and I was having like nightmares about it at one point, and couldn't kind of look at very sort of graphic things. And yeah, this is the first time I've been able to talk about this without crying, which I think is a really good progress, because ordinarily, and when I spoke to you about it before, I did get upset. But yeah, I think it's a message about sort of fortitude and helping. We live in an age, sadly, where I think people are scared to help, and I respect people's choices, but I just think if you're put in this situation, you have to help, and if you can't help, at least show compassion and humility. And I remember at one point during this whole thing, I got really, excuse my language, but like really pissed off with this person who was just like rubbishing police and attention seeking. And I was just like, this isn't about you, Mr. Drama King. It's nothing, like, go away, whatever. You weren't here. You have no idea what's going on. No, you didn't see anything. And after he left, I went up to the policeman. I was like, by the way, that's not a reliable witness. He wasn't even here. Please disregard what he's just told you, because he's just, So I think even in a situation like that, I was still quite sort of, what's the word, tenacious, because I was like, I'm not having this, I'm not having people jumping on this ridiculousness. it's like when people like, you know, they slow down on the motorway to look at an accident, and I always find that very strange personally.
Yeah.
There's that odd expression in German, what is it, like Schreisen or something, where you take like, I don't know, but anyway, I digress. But yeah, like it's 4 years on now, and it's something I don't think I'll ever forget. And when I started thinking about it recently, like it prompted me and John to talk about it again. And, you know, I think John was happy that I've kind of found my peace with it as well, which I think was important.
Yeah.
So it's a good story for Be Glad, because it's being glad for being in a situation that you didn't want to be in, but hopefully something great came out of it. So
definitely. Well, there's twofolds there, isn't there? There's glad that you and John were there to help, you know, that being in the right place at the right time, and then the fact that I know you had that delayed response, but you've learned from this experience that, you know, certain traumatic experiences need to be dealt with ASAP and not just pushed to the back of your mind. And I know you've also been in, I know you maybe don't want to talk about them now, but you have been in other tricky situations which have put you in a position to be able to deal with those better as well. You know, you're more of a calm, collected person now. So, and I just want to acknowledge you for coming on and talking about it, because I know you've told me the story before, and it's been a little while coming doing this video, and I assured you many times that, you know, don't do it if you don't want to do it, because it's your story and your voice. So I just want to sort of, you know, salute you. I'll have done that wrong. I've got boys complaining that I don't know how to salute properly, else I won't try and do it properly. But honestly, I think, you know, it's a very brave thing to share your story, especially when it was so graphic and so upsetting for you. Because really, these kind of things, you don't know when they're going to come back and get you, because they can crop up at any time and just, you know, dip you into tears. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Like, I think just thank you, because I felt very comfortable sort of talking to you, and yeah, I know I had a bit of a wobble before, but I'm really glad I've done this. And I think as well, like, I just want to finish by saying, I know everyone says this, but like, we're so lucky to have the first responders that we do, and without that air ambulance, I don't think there would have been the outcome that happened. And, you know, the NHS were just incredible that day. So I'm so happy that we have that support. So no, it was a big day, and I hope I'm not in that exact situation again, in all honesty. But if I am, then I can probably look at stuff without puking, which I did do that day. My initial reaction was puking. So hats off to surgeons, because yeah, I don't think I could do that job. But thank you, and thank you very much for being so positive and supportive. Thank you.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. It's my pleasure, absolute pleasure. And the Be Glad movement is all about you guys anyway. So I'm just trying to bring these stories together so that to help other people, because there's going to be someone watching this that might have literally just had a traumatic experience like you had, and maybe they haven't worked through it and talked to anyone properly about it yet. So it's important that they hear this and go and get some help. And, you know, if they're still sort of going through the process of coming to terms with it, to know that it actually helped you be a strong person for other people later on, will help them sort of reconcile what they might have seen as well. So thank you so much for joining us.
Okay.
If you liked this video, please do hit the like and subscribe button, and you'll get notifications when new videos are uploaded. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter and YouTube. If you, not YouTube, what was I going to say, Facebook. If you search at Be Glad Movement, you should be able to find us. And please do get in touch if you have a story that you could share. Doesn't matter if it's similar to somebody else's story, because I really do believe that your story and your voice has the ability to talk to someone in their time of need. So I would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another episode. Many thanks. Bye bye.